Hey, hi, good evening, everyone. Good evening, friends. Right. Welcome back to our day 8 of Database Management Simplified course. So, we have completed the concept of SQL clauses, and today we are going to understand a new topic. It is constraints. Okay, so before we understand the concept of constraints, we'll quickly recap what we have covered in the previous day. Then we'll start understanding what are these constraints. Right. So in the last class, we discussed clauses. What are these clauses? Clauses are the essential components of SQL query, which actually provides some vital information to the database system. Right? It provides some kind of information. Excuse me. What are the different types of clauses that we have? And these clauses help us to filter, sort, then group, limit, yes, and skip. Okay, so these clauses actually help us to sort the data, filter the data, and group the data. Also, we can limit the data. So, what are the different types of clauses that we have? There are, you know, uh, the first clause that we have understood is where clause. Where clause helps us to filter the data. Then, which clause help us to sort the data? It is order by. Then, for grouping the data, we have group by. For grouping the data, grouping the records. But if I want to apply a filter on the grouped data, we have to use having clause. We have to use having clause. So this is filter on grouped data. Okay, filtering on the grouped data. Then we understood limit clause. Yes, limit clause actually helps us to limit the data, the output. Instead of fetching the entire data set, the entire table, it's better if you get only a few records. Okay, when you're actually working on large data sets. So it's better if you limit only a few records to understand the data. You're supposed to use limit clause. Then we also understood offset, which is used to skip the top records, okay, as part of limit. So these two are used together, limit and offset. And what is the order of execution, or what is the order of sequence for clauses? Probably initially we'll start with where clause. Next to where clause we'll have group by to group the data. On the group data, if you want to apply any filter, we can have having clause. Then we'll have order by clause for sorting the data, and finally limit and offset. Okay, so this will be the sequence of execution for clauses, right? So in case if you have missed the previous session on clauses, I request you guys to go through these clauses. Okay, right. And today we are going to understand the concept on constraints. Okay, so what are these constraints? Like how we have SQL clauses, we have SQL constraints. What are these constraints? Constraints are like some kind of rules. Are they similar to clauses? Not exactly, but you know they they are a set of rules which we actually keep on the table on the data. Okay, so with respect to the data, okay, in order to have good relations between the data set, okay, within the table, you should have constraints defined. Okay, these constraints are like some kind of rules. How does these constraints help us? They help us, you know, in maintaining data integrity, and they also ensure us to have a good information stored in the database. You can have the accurate information, consistent information. Consistent data can be part of our table as well as reliable. So what are the different types of constraints we have? We'll understand one by one. Okay, I'll take different examples for explaining all these different types of constraints. So focus. One thing that we have a picture about constraints is constraints are nothing but rules. Okay, so there are some set of conditions that we apply on the data itself. At the data level, we'll apply some kind of conditions, and those conditions are nothing but constraints. What are the different types of constraints we have in SQL? The first constraint is primary key. It is primary key. What does a primary key means? A primary key means it is a column, or we can also have a set of columns that uniquely identifies each row in a table. What does this mean? This means, primary key is a combination of unique and not null. Okay, so if you are defining this primary key constraint for any one of the column, in that column, the values for each and every row should be unique, and they cannot be null. They cannot be null. And how many primary keys does a table have? Only one primary key. We cannot have multiple primary keys. Only one single primary key is allowed for any of the table. Right. Let us go and create a table using primary key constraint. And the syntax you see here, this is the syntax. Create table, table name. Okay, so from long back we are using this word, right? Primary key in the previous examples, in the previous sessions. Okay, that are part of previous examples. We have gone through this particular word, but we did not understand what exactly it is. It's a constraint. Okay, whenever you are defining your table, you can also define your constraints. What all constraints would you like to have for each and every column can be defined initially. Okay, so primary key ensures that the values in that particular column, okay, will be unique and not null. They cannot be null. So the syntax is like this: column followed by data type, column name followed by data type, then primary key, so on. Can't I have one more primary key here? No, because a table can have only a single primary key, only one. Right. So let me create a table. Okay. I'll take an example. See, I'm creating a table called employees, where we have employee ID, first name, last name, and department as the columns, and followed by the data types. Okay, integer varchar for rest of the three non-numeric columns. But for the employee ID column, we have primary key. Okay, so this means the values for employee ID cannot be null, and moreover the values under this particular column should be unique. So let me execute. Table got created and the table name is employees. I'll refresh. You see, so this is my table. Let me look at the data. Is there any data? No, there is no data because I just created the table now. Okay, so let me go and insert some records. You see, same insert the syntax. I'm using insert command to insert the data. Okay, see, so into the table for these columns, I'm inserting the records. I'm passing the values for each and every column. Okay, for employee ID, for first name, last name, and department. Right. But am I passing any kind of repeated value for employee ID? No, all of them are unique. I'm not repeating any kind of value under employee ID. Let's see, will it execute or will it throw any kind of error? We'll see. No, it did not throw any kind of error. It has executed. So let me fetch the data using select command. Done. Yes. The data is inserted. We have all the records clear. Yes. But now let us understand, do we really have primary key or not for the table? In order to get the complete information regarding the table, okay, we have describe keyword. Okay, this particular describe table name will give me the complete information regarding the table. See, you just use describe table name, that's it. It returns a table in which you'll have the list of fields. Fields are nothing but columns, field names, column names. Then what is the data type? What is the schema that is associated for each and every column? Yes. Followed by, does these columns allow null values or not? It is clearly mentioned here. For the only employee ID it says no, but for rest of the three columns it says yes. But I did not mention any kind of not null constraint, right, for employee ID. But how come, it is no under null? Because of primary key. Primary key is a combination of both not null and unique constraints. So what are these two constraints we'll discuss? Okay, so since I have used primary key for employee ID, you know, you see it's no for employee ID. So employee ID cannot, the values under this particular column cannot be null. And what is the keys? Do we have any keys in the table for any of the columns? Yes, there is only one key. It is primary key. Okay, right. So let me proceed further. I hope it's making sense, friends. Okay, if you did not get the point, raise a question immediately. See, what am I doing? I'm trying to insert one more record, but this time, what am I doing? The same way, whatever I have inserted in the previous case, in the same way, I'm trying to insert one record, one employee details. But the thing is, for this employee, what is employee ID? It's 3. Anyhow, I have already 3, right? There is an employee who has an employee ID 3. But will this particular query execute or not? No. The reason is because primary key ensures uniqueness. The values cannot be repeated. So you'll get an error. You'll get an error. What is error that it is displaying here? Duplicate entry 3 for key employees primary. Okay. So because of that, because of primary key, you cannot have the repeated values for employee ID column. Okay. So the definition of primary key comes into the picture. Next to it, I'll try to insert one more record. There is one more employee joined. Okay, but this employee did not have any kind of ID. Can we insert the details into our existing table? Yes or no? No. Why? Even though if the person did not have any kind of employee ID, if it is null, our primary key does not accept null values. Primary key is a combination of both not null and unique. So when I try to execute this, still I get an error. I'll get an error again. The reason is, see, employee ID cannot be null. Why? Because primary key was associated with employee ID, a constraint. So before you insert the data, what happens is it checks what are the conditions, what are the rules that these columns have. There is only one rule, and that is primary key, which was associated with employee ID. So for this employee ID column, all the values should be unique and not null. They should not be null. Got it? Yes. So a small, it's a basic constraint that we widely used. Okay, as part of real time also, we widely use primary key, and it is very easy to remember because it's a combination of not null and unique. How many primary keys can we have in a table? Only one. Only one primary key can be accepted. Okay, but Akhil, one question before you continue. The definition of the primary key. If you go back, it's not like one you have told. Anyways, here it is clearly mentioned that we can have only one primary key. But if you go back to the definition, what does the definition say? The definition it's showing that a primary key is a column or set of columns. So that means, can we have multiple primary keys? No, we cannot have multiple primary keys. Okay, we can have only one primary key, and this primary key has to be given for a set of columns. It is called as composite primary key. It is named as composite primary key. Okay, so under primary key we have a variant called composite primary key. So if you are aware of composite materials, what does composite materials means? A material which is made up of more than two is a composite material, right? Two or more. In the same way, if a primary key is defined for more than two or more columns together, it represents a composite primary key. See, a composite primary key is a primary key. It's a primary key, but for how many columns you are going to define it? I'll define for two or more than two. And together should represent uniqueness. Okay, so when you use these two or more than two columns that you are using as part of primary key, okay, they should together represent the uniqueness. When we try to understand these two columns together, they should identify the actual values in the rows. So what are the rules? The key rules that we have under composite primary key are: a table can have only one primary key. Yes, there can be only one primary key, but you can made it make up to multiple columns. Use this primary key for multiple columns, so that becomes a composite primary key, right? So the second rule says the combination of all these values should be unique. For example, if I'm taking two columns to make my primary key, so it becomes a composite primary key. The combination of these two column values should be unique across all the rows. Okay, if it finds the same combination again in the table, it throws error. It does not accept. Then neither of the columns can have null values. So any both of these two columns cannot have null values. Got it? So that is the rules for composite primary key, and the syntax is it's same. But instead of defining for one column, what we do, we'll go to the last or wherever you want, as part of this query, you'll mention primary key. Within primary key, you are supposed to mention the columns: column 1, column 2, column 3, so on. It might be n number of columns. That's not an issue, but ensure that you provide all the columns within this primary key parenthesis. So that itself, we are telling that all these columns, using all these column values, we are going to make a single primary key. It doesn't mean we have two primary keys, friends. We have only one. Okay, right. So let me create a table. I'll create a table. Am I following the syntax? Yes. If I don't follow the syntax, if I violate the syntax, I'll get an error. So I should follow the syntax. The syntax says create table name. So within the parenthesis, provide all list of columns followed by the data types, the schema for each and every column, then the constraints. So here, as we are trying to understand composite primary key, a composite primary key should be defined in this way. Primary key, within primary key, the columns. Right. So I'll define my table. I'm creating my table. Executed. Yes. Let me go and check. Order details. The new table got created. Now let me insert some records. I'll insert some records. And if you see here, the records, what two values should be unique? The combination of order ID and product ID. Okay, because these two, using these two columns, I'm defining my composite primary key. Okay, so the combination of product ID and order ID and product ID should be unique. That doesn't mean order ID values cannot be repeated. They can be repeated. Even for product ID also, the values in product ID column also can be repeated, but the combination should not be repeated. And neither of these two columns can have null values. So let's go and check. The combination 1101, but you see it's getting repeated. The order is getting repeated. So in the first order, there are two products, 101, 102. In the second order, the two products. Okay, so let me try executing this. Will it work? Will it execute? Yes, it will. Sorry, it's not orders, it's order details. My bad. Okay, so now let me do it again. It says doesn't exist. Just give me a minute. Okay, this is order ID, product quantity. Let me pass price so that I'll get values. Probably 500.25. I have the, you know, I'm just giving some random values, friends. Okay, let's see why it's not working. We'll tackle the issue. Okay, so orders details. Acha, it's not orders. Sorry, order underscore details is the table name. You know, I have to remove it. Now I'll go and execute. See, hmm, my bad. This is price. Now it works. It should work. Yes. So, there is a small typo. Let us ignore it. Anyways, so, the combination, I did not repeat the combination anyways. That is the reason it is executing. But let us do one thing. We'll repeat the combination and let's see what happens. This also should be replaced. Order details. What am I doing? I'm repeating the combination. What is the combination? It is 1101. I already have it in my table. You see, I already have that particular record in the table, and no more it does not allow the same combination because I have defined a composite primary key. Okay, so I'll execute, it throws error. Duplicate entry. Understood? So we cannot have the same combination again and again. It does not allow the duplicates. The reason is it's a primary key. First of all, it's a primary key. Since we have defined on multiple columns, it become a composite primary key. Clear? Then I'll go and try to insert a record. This time, what am I doing? I'm not repeating the combination. Fine. But for product ID, I'm trying to pass null values. Is it accepted? Can composite primary key columns can have null values? No. Neither of the columns can have null values. So, if you try to pass null value, what happens? Simple. Sorry. I'm supposed to rectify it. Anyways, I'll redo it. You see, product ID cannot be null. This particular column product ID cannot be null. Even if you pass null values for order ID, it does not accept because together they represent a composite primary key. Clear? Yes. So we understood primary key and composite primary key, right? No questions. I assume no questions because very simple to understand. A primary key is a combination of both unique and not null constraints. Okay, so a table can have only one single primary key, and when you try to pass the repeated values for the column for which the primary key have been defined, it throws error. Even it does not accept null values. What is composite primary key? Composite primary key is also same. There is a slight difference. So a primary key, when you are trying to define for multiple columns, it becomes a composite primary key. Okay, so these composite primary key have some, again it has some rules. The combination of these column values should not be repeated, they should be unique. Then none of these columns should have null values. They cannot it cannot accept null values. Okay, right. constraint is foreign key. This is also very important, friends. We generally widely use foreign key as well. Foreign key is a constraint. Okay. It's a constraint which can be defined for a column or a set of columns. Okay. The main purpose of foreign key is to establish relationships between tables. You have table 1, then you also have table 2. In order to have the relationship between table 1 and table 2, we'll come up with foreign key. Okay, we'll define a foreign key to establish the relationship. How? The foreign key that we have defined, that will be linked to the primary key of other table. Okay, so in table 1 you'll have the primary key, right? So using table 2 foreign key column, I'll try to link with primary key of table 1, and here are the properties. So it ensures the values in the foreign key column must exist in the reference table to whatever table that you are going to reference. Okay, that is table 1. All the values of table 2 foreign key column should be present in primary key column of table 1. Okay, and how many foreign keys can you have for a table? You can have multiple foreign keys. You can have multiple foreign keys. See, if there are n, for example, if there are 3 tables, I'll connect table 2 with table 1 and table 2 with table 3. How? One foreign key, I'll use it for table 1 and other foreign key, I can use it for table 3 for establishing the relationship. Right? So here is the syntax, friends. The syntax is same. In order to differentiate, we have clearly mentioned child table, parent table. Okay, child table and parent table. See, the syntax, let us focus on the syntax. I'm creating the child table, then followed by column names, data types, column name, data type. Whenever you're defining the foreign key, okay, use the foreign key keyword. On which column you're going to define the foreign key, ensure that you keep the column name. Then it should be kept as references to which table you are going to reference. Use the table name and the primary key column of that parent table. Okay, so the primary key column name should be kept inside this parent table. So here I'm creating an example. Okay, so there are 2 tables. Just to understand the concept of foreign key, I'm coming up with 2 tables. One is departments. Okay, I'll execute. There are only 2 columns. One is department ID, department name. So for department ID, I have primary key. So tell me one thing, friends. Can I use primary key, or can I define a primary key for department name? Can I define primary key for department name? Yes or no? What do you see? Is it possible or not? Did you get my question? Can I define a primary key for a department name? No, it's impossible. Primary key means, the value should not be repeated. Right? Anyhow, in this table, you can also define, because ID and name, we have only these 2 columns, right? But in general, for names, you cannot define primary keys. The reason is, the names get repeated, but primary key ensures only uniqueness. Right? So I'm trying to insert the data into this table. So there are in total 5 departments. Okay, I'm inserting the data using insert command. Done. So for better understanding, I'll open the data, the table. So this is how we have the data. Okay, I'll go back. So the parent table got created. Now I'll go back and I'll create the child table. See, I'm creating a child table. In the child table, I have employee ID, first name, employee's details, last name, department ID. So you see here the common column between table 1 and table 2, departments and employees, is department ID. Okay, so taking this department ID, I'm going to use foreign key. I'll define my foreign key on this column. Okay, and this is going to reference the parent table. What is the parent table? Departments. Okay, and what is the primary key inside this parent table? Department ID. Okay, I hope it's making sense. When I took this example, it's very clear for us. There are two tables. One is parent table and the child table. The parent table is department table and the child table is employees one. Okay, so using foreign key concept, I'm going to establish the relationship between employees and departments. So let me execute. Done. Let me refresh. I should also have the next table. But do we have any data? No data. Okay. So let us insert the data. I'm inserting the data as well. Am I using any new? You see here, these are the department IDs. Okay, that these folks report to these departments. Okay, so and the first one represents the employee ID. Okay, so I'm trying to insert the data. I'm trying to insert the records. Am I repeating or am I coming up with any new department which is not present in our departments table? No. The same departments that I have, I'm using them as is, and I'm actually inserting the data. So it will execute. So let me look at the data. So this is the data, the table. But when I try to insert the data into this same child table, but you know with a new department ID, what am I doing? I'm trying to insert an employee details with new department ID. Why am I saying new? Because this 10 is not present inside departments table. Is it present over here? No. But we know that we have established the connection between the department ID column of employees and the department ID column of departments. Okay. So using foreign key, we have established the connection, the relationship. And when I try to insert the data, where we don't find any kind of value, the similar value in the parent table, when you try to execute, it will throw error. It will throw error. Cannot add or update a child row. A foreign key constraint fails. Is what you see here. Why? So that is the point. It was written clearly. Ensures that values in the foreign key column must exist in the reference table. So I'll explain it here. See, we have two tables. One is its department, excuse me, parent table, and we have other table. It is employees. This is nothing but child table. We have established the relationship. Okay, both of them had a connection. How? How did we connect? Using foreign key. Using foreign key, I have connected both department table and employees table. So the first property of foreign key says it ensures the values in the foreign key column in this column must exist in the reference table. So what is reference table? To which table you are referencing is department. See, probably I should scroll down. Okay, anyways. I'm referencing to department table using foreign key. So this is called as reference table, and this is called as referencing table. There is a difference. This is referencing to the department table since this is getting referenced by employees. Okay, the words are something same, but there is a kind of confusion. But focus. Department table will be reference table. Employee table will be referencing table. It is referencing to department table. Okay, so since I have only 5 departments, these are the IDs. When you try to insert or update whatever it might be with a new value which is not present in the reference table column, okay, of the parent table, it will throw an error. It will throw error. So that is what we are trying to do. Do we have 10 department number 10, department ID 10? No. Foreign key constraint fields. It violates. So that is the reason it is throwing as error, friends. See. I hope it's making sense now. Cannot add or update. Just go through it. Okay. A foreign key constraint fails because we are violating the rule of foreign key. Whatever the values that are present inside the foreign key of the reference table, only those values should be exist. Only those values we have to keep. Right. Clear. What if I want to delete record? So far we are just trying to understand only the insert command. What am I doing now? I'm trying to delete some records using delete command. Delete is part of DML, data manipulation language. So delete from table name, that is the departments, okay, the parent table where department ID is 1. So I don't want this one department 1 and this particular row 1 engineering. I'm actually interested in removing or dropping this particular row. So using where clause, using comparison operator. So in this particular query, I have a mixture of topics. Language is covered, DML, delete command. Then clause is covered, where clause. We also have operators. What kind of operator? Comparison operator. So within one query, I have a combination of multiple topics. Now we are able to understand the query exactly because these are the fundamental topics. So what am I trying to do? I am trying to delete some records in the table departments. But what are the key points or the key properties of foreign key? Okay, probably that was missed out. Anyways, you cannot do this. The reason is it is referencing to a child table, right? So let me do it. You'll get an error. What is error? Cannot delete or update a parent row. A foreign key constraint fails. So whenever there is a relationship, see, if there is no relationship, you can perform any kind of action. You can update, you can delete, your wish. But since we had a connection, since there is a relationship established between these two tables, you know, we are unable to have any kind of, we cannot do any kind of action on the data. So that is actually making us, it is allowing us to get errors because of one foreign key. Okay, right. It is clear. So foreign key helps us to create relationships between the tables. Okay, so the next key is unique key. Unique. The name itself, it's very clear. We can understand it very clear. Unique key ensures, or it is used to enforce the uniqueness of the values in a column. In a one particular column, okay, if you would like to have only the unique values, then go and use unique key for that column. You define unique key for that column. Okay, unlike primary key, which automatically enforce uniqueness and not null constraints. Okay, so primary key is combination of both, but unique key, does it allow null values? Yes, it allows null values. A unique key allows null values but ensures no two records or rows have same value for the column. So where generally we use this unique ID, probably some kind of IDs, product ID, order ID, okay, payment, transaction, they are all unique. Okay, but you can have some kind of nulls can be, you can have null values can exist, but repetition is impossible as part of unique key. So those are the key points that you have here. How many unique keys can be defined for within a table? You can have multiple unique keys, but primary key only one. Foreign keys multiple. Okay, right. So what is the syntax? There are two syntaxes. It's not like two syntaxes. This is the actual syntax for unique key. So column name, data type, and unique key constraint. Unique. Column name, data type, unique key. In this way, you can have multiple unique keys within a table. Right? So I'll talk about this. This is the other syntax for unique, but this is representing a composite unique key. Okay, so together should be unique. The same concept of composite primary key. Okay, in the same way, what am I doing? I'm creating a constraint and the constraint name. Okay, so I'm defining a composite unique key by mentioning all the columns. So if I mention two columns, this particular combination should not be repeated, but they can have nulls. Nulls are accepted as part of unique key. Okay, right. So let us go and take some examples. I'm creating a table. What is a table say? Table name is users. Okay, so we have in total 4 columns: user ID, username, then sorry, 3 columns, only email. Out of these 3, you see which column have unique, which columns does not allow duplicate, I mean repetitions, duplicates, are username and user ID. Akhil, you did not keep unique key, or you did not define unique key, right? Just go down. It is primary key. Anyhow, primary key means combination of unique and not null. Okay, so there are 2 constraints. One is unique and not null. Okay, we'll talk about these two as well. So what happens is the combination of both is primary key. Right, let me create this table users. Created? Yes, it got created. Now let me insert some data. I'm inserting some records. What am I doing? I'm inserting values to ID, username, and email for all the columns. But do you find any duplicates for user ID? No. For username? No. No duplicates, no repetitions. So this particular query, SQL query will execute. Yes. Because I'm not violating any of the rules, any of the constraints. So it executes. Now I'll try to insert a record. What happens for this particular record? I want you guys to answer. Will this execute or not? Yes or no? If yes, why? If no, why? Will it execute? No? Yes? The answer is no. The answer is no. Why? Because for username we have unique key. Is the user getting repeated? Yes. The username is getting repeated. So this particular query, SQL query will not execute. See. How to check the constraints, how to check, how to get the complete description. The information for the table is describe, then the table name, users. You see, for user ID, it is primary key. For username, it is unique key. But username can take null values. User ID can take null values? No. Why? Because of primary key. The difference. How many unique keys can you have within a table? N number of unique keys can be part of a table. You can define n number of unique keys within a table. Okay, I'll take one more example. This time, okay, I'm trying to insert one more record of a user where I'm passing value for user ID and I'm not passing value for username, and a value for email ID is being passed. Will this execute or not? Think and respond. Will it execute? Yes, because I'm passing a null value for username. Yes, it will execute. The reason is unique keys accept null values. Okay, so when I try to execute, it is you know it is not throwing any kind of error. Probably I'll also look at the data for better understanding. See, user ID, no username, and there is a user email as well. We have the mail, we have the ID, but no name. Okay, that particular record got inserted successfully without throwing any kind of errors. Clear? Yep. So let us go and create a composite unique key. Can a composite unique key defined? Yes. Like how we have defined a composite primary key. In the same way, let's go and create a composite unique key. What did we do? I'm going to create a table where the name of the table is orders 1. Okay. And there are some columns: order ID, product ID, customer ID, order date. Okay. So these are the columns, right? So primary key is defined for order ID. Then I am defining a composite unique key. Okay, so what are the columns that I am including? It is product ID and customer ID. So these two, order ID is primary key. Order ID has primary key. But if we observe for product ID and customer ID, we have come up with composite unique key. Okay, so this particular composite unique key ensures that the combination of both should not be null. I mean, should not be repeated. Okay, they cannot have duplicates. Let us go and create. Done. I'll refresh. It's orders 1. So this is the data. I mean, this is the table. No data. So let us insert some records into this table. So I'll go back. I'll get the data. Right. So order ID. Am I repeating? No. So I'm following the rules of primary key. I'm not repeating, and moreover, I did not have any null values. Then next to order ID, we have product ID and customer ID. Is the combination unique or not? Go and check. 101, 201, 102, 202, 103, 203. It's unique. None of the records have the same combination. Okay, so this particular query will execute. This SQL query will execute. The reason is I'm not violating the syntaxes. And moreover, I'm not violating the rules of constraints. It might be unique key or primary key, I'm not violating. So this has to execute. Then let me try inserting a record in which we violate. In what case or where exactly you will find the error? Tell me, friends. You see here the combination 101, 201, the same combination is getting repeated. If it is getting repeated, obviously it throws error. The reason is we have defined a composite unique key. Composite, whenever you heard this term in SQL, it is a combination of two or more. Simply you remember in this way. It might be a primary key or a unique key or whatever. Okay, so let me go and execute. It throws error. Duplicate entry. Already we have this combination in the table, so it does not allow to have a duplicate entry as part of the table orders 1. Right? So what did we learn? I'll quickly recap. We have learned what are constraints, what is the purpose of constraints in SQL, structured query language, and as part of constraints, we have learned primary key, composite primary key, foreign key, unique key, and composite unique key. All these 5 topics, 5 constraints have been understood as part of this class. We also have few more constraints. Okay, so we'll discuss them in the coming session. But I request all of you to do some kind of hands-on. Do practice on daily basis so that you can memorize these concepts for a long time. Right. So it's time for our questions. Any questions? Yep. So friends, before you leave, if you find these sessions are great, if they're going in a good way, and if you're getting benefited by these sessions, you know, please encourage us by giving a like. If not, share across your connections. So foreign key. What exactly is a foreign key? Foreign key is a constraint which can be defined on one column, and if not, you can have on a set of columns. Okay. So the main purpose of foreign key is to establish relationships between multiple tables. Okay, between two tables, if you want to create a relationship, you are supposed to do it using foreign key only. Okay, so foreign key of child table will be referencing to the primary key of parent table. Okay, I repeat. See, if you remember in this way, that would be easy for you. You'll have assume that you have two tables. One is parent table, then you have child table. Okay, so if you want to create a relation between these two tables, how do you do it? We do it using foreign key. Okay, so we'll define a foreign key for a column of child table, and this particular foreign key helps us to connect with primary key of parent table. Okay, for simple, in order to make it very easy, you make this relationship like parent and child. If you remember in this way, you can memorize for like long time, like how we'll have the relationships, okay, within our family and all. So those relationships between the tables can be created using foreign key. That's it. In two words, relationships can be built using foreign keys. And a table can have multiple foreign keys. Like how we are going to have multiple unique keys in a table, we can have multiple foreign keys. Is it clear, my friend? Yep. So the feedback link has been provided. You know, provide your valuable feedback before you leave, and moreover, uh, as I have discussed earlier, I'm repeating one more time. In the next week, we are going to start free internship program. Okay, so it is for 45 days, and I would like to uh, tell that this particular internship, okay, will be very fascinating, and moreover, you are going to learn a lot of things. Okay, so whatever the experience that I have, would I will be sharing across these 45 days, and moreover, you can get some kind of real time exposure, how projects are done in the real time. Okay, so you'll get all such kind of information. So be part of it, complete your registration, and we'll discuss more as part of that particular program. Right, so that's all. I assume no questions, right? So friends, we'll connect in the next session. Until then, take care, have a great day. Signing off, bye.